Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Dear brothers and sisters, greetings of the peace. What is editing? Editing is deleting, adding, altering, modifying, or replacing the parts of a work. When scientists do it to the DNA of any living organism, we call this genome editing or gene editing or genetic engineering. In Islam, this kind of scientific experiments have a different rulings when it is done to the human beings compared to other organisms, because in Islamic perspective, the human is the central creation among all the creatures of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Currently, the most of the Islamic scholars, they say that the genome editing, using the genome editing in humans for the enhancement purposes, such as increasing the intelligence or athletic power and prowess, height, or changing the physical appearance, that is prohibited in Islam because it is seen as a interfering the natural order of God's creation. تغيير خلق الله. It is against the principles of Islam. It is against the Islamic way of life. It is against the Islamic worldview and how Islam perceives the life as a test and trial. Germline genome editing, which is the matter of today's discussion, it aims to prevent the genetic diseases by altering the genes in the reproductive cells, and it is a topic of debate among the Muslim jurists. First of all, we have to understand there are two types of the genome editing. There is germline genome editing, there is somatic genome editing. Germline genome editing targets the reproductive cells, such as the sperm, egg cells, or embryos, whereas the changes made here can be passed on to the future generation. So, from the patient, the changes made in the genome editing, if it is germline, it can be passed on to the children, grandchildren, and the future subsequent offspring. Whereas the somatic reproductive genome editing targets the non-reproductive cells in the body, such as the skin cell, muscle cell, etc. Changes made in somatic cells are not passed on to the future generations. They affect only the individual treated. So let's see how to have an Islamic perspective on thing. If Quran or Sunnah have directly mentioned its ruling, that is the final decision. If we cannot find, from our perspective, the case is not directly clearly mentioned in Quran and Sunnah, one way of dealing with this case is to critically examine whether this issue or the case at the hand is aligned with the Islamic principles based on al-qawaid al-fiqhiyya, Islamic legal maxims. Al-qawaid al-fiqhiyya, Islamic legal maxims, are the extract or the universal legal maxims which are dominantly influencing the fiqh decisions. There are five maxims. The first one is al-umuru bi maqasidiha. Actions are judged according to our intention. What is the objective? What is the intention behind it? Second is the maxim of certainty. Al-yaqinu la yazulu bi-shak. Certainty cannot be overruled by the doubt. If there is a doubt, there is a certainty. Certainty is the preferred choice. Thirdly, larar. Al-larar yuzal. Harm must be eliminated. Any harm, Islam's principle is all harm should be eliminated according to our level best capacity. Thirdly, al-larura or mashaqqa, the principle of necessity. Al-mashaqqatu tajlibu taysir, hardship begets facility. If a person is in a necessity, in a urgent situation, then he has flexible choices offered by Islamic principles or Islamic jurisprudence. Fifthly, al-urf, if the custom, the local custom is Sharia compliant, that has a power of it is authoritative, it is arbitrary. So when we look to the issue of genome editing or any issue through the prism of legal maxims, we it helps us to see the things in a more holistic way from an Islamic perspective. Let's see the genome editing. The first legal maxim related to the qasd, intention, refers to evaluating the new medical technologies based on the intentions and objectives of its application. In this case, the key objective is to enable the patients who are carriers of or affected with genetic disease to have a healthy blood relationship, a blood related offspring of their own. It is highly appreciated in Islam. First of all, it is a from a genome germline genome editing. If it is done to prevent or to cure a genetic disease, it is a tadawi, it is a treatment, it is seeking the cure of a disease, that is highly encouraged from an Islamic perspective. And also, this is to have the healthy offspring that aligns with the Islamic higher objective of the Islam, which is hiflun nasl, the protection of the progeny or the lineage. Second maxim is related to the yaqeen, the certainty. In Islamic bioethics, it means how sure we are about the scientific knowledge, how much guarantee, how much effectiveness of the new medical treatments are there. It asks whether are the is it a safer choice, is it a better choice, what is sure is given preference, or what is doubtful. For example, when we consider the new medical technique called the genome editing, there is a much safer and simpler alternative called the pre-implantation genetic testing, that is PGT. PGT can check embryos created through the in vitro fertilization IVF for genetic defects without making any permanent changes to their gene. So this kind of consideration should be there when we want to have a Islamic perspective on this issue. Thirdly, the maxim related to Allah, harm must be eliminated. This maxim questions the risk of the potential harms associated with the new medical techniques. Genome editing with using the CRISPR technology is neither error free or nor without risks. So it has to be ensured that it is done not at the cost of any bigger or similar risks. Fourthly, legal maxim related to al necessity. It questions the necessity or urgency of using new medical techniques. Because germline genome editing of the human embryos is not a life saving in itself, because it is intended to save the life and health of the future offspring. So, this is less necessity, less urgency as compared to the curing the patients who are already affected with a serious genetic disease. The fifth maxims related to uruf refers to taking into account the local customs and traditions if they are compatible with Sharia when deciding on any new issues. Are they, compatible or in conformity to the local customs there? So this has to be also kept in mind when we decide an issue, um, when we decide a decision on any new medical technology. Let's explore more. See you again. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah.